Anna, it is wonderful to see you again, looking fantastic, may I say.
Hi, Maria. Thank you. Thanks for having me today.
You're very welcome. And actually, you would expect anybody who is sporty to always look fantastic because it's not great to say you're a sports person. You've got 11 medals, Olympian, and you have to stay fit, right?
Absolutely, you got to stay fit. But that I was Olympian in 2008 and year 2000. So it's been some time actually since I was at the height of my training and keeping super fit. Not so much
Fantastic.
anymore.
Fantastic, and I've seen videos of the muscles that you had then. Wow! So listen, we didn't mention in the introduction what sport it was that you did, and it's not one that everybody will have immediately thought of. They may be looking and they'll probably be guessing, perhaps. But tell us the sport that you chose and why.
So yeah, when I say that I'm a kayaker, most people think of the slalom kayaking, where they go down the rapids and the weirs and they're getting battered by the white water, do the Eskimo rolls. So that's not what I did. I've never even done an Eskimo roll. I don't like getting my hair wet. But most people think of that. And what I did was flat water kayaking. So rivers and lakes. If you've been watching the Tokyo Olympics, we're recording this during the Olympics, then it's the sprint canoe racing. So when they're on the regatta course, the same regatta course that they race the rowing. So I did in the Olympics a 500-meter event, which is from one end to the other as fast as possible. And I won my world championships in marathon kayak racing, which was over not 1 kilometer, not 5 kilometers, but 35 kilometers. So long distance, takes 2.5 hours. That's what I did.
Wow, wow. I don't think I'd have the stamina for 2.5 minutes, but wow, that's incredibly impressive. Brilliant, brilliant. You mentioned the Tokyo Olympics, and actually, I mean, I've been watching it and it's been fantastic. It's always wonderful to watch the Olympics. I love Olympic years. I'm sure many, many people do. And you see that some of the athletes really thrive under pressure. And then you see others that struggle to perform at their best. They've been training for years, and then you're there, and the whole pressure just takes them over. What can we learn from the athletes who can control that pressure that we can apply maybe in business when we're feeling under pressure?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's the biggest stage. The Olympic Games is, it's that 4-year cycle, and everyone's trying to deliver it on that day, in that moment. They've waited for it and waited for it, and the best performers, they are able to deliver their best performance with the highest pressure. And a big part of that for me is about where are you focusing your attention. And the best performers, you'll hear them if you listen out, to post-race interviews, post-performance interviews. You'll hear a lot of athletes talking about how they're focused on their performance and not the result, not the outcome, because the outcome, the result, getting medals, that's where the pressure comes from, the expectation of others, and so much of that is out of our control. The result ultimately can come down, can be influenced by everything from the weather and the referee's decision to the conditions to your competitors. So much can influence the result. So there's absolutely no point putting your attention on the results, and instead it's important to focus your attention on the process, on your race plan, on your strategy. And I think it's the same in business. When you are going for a big sales meeting, this is your opportunity to seal the deal with the client. And if you start focusing on the outcome and we will get it, will we not, what are they going to say, all of that, that's when the self-doubt starts to come in, and that's when your mind wanders and you're not focused. And so ultimately all you can control is your performance, what you say, what you do, how you deliver, what you do in the moment. And as an athlete, it's about your performance and focusing on what you've prepared to do, and that's what allows you to deliver in the moment. And I think if you don't do that and you start focusing on the outcome, then the doubt starts to creep in, and the self-talk can become quite negative, and the what ifs start to come in and all of that. And that's what derails your performance. And you're focused on, so it's all about where's your attention in that moment. The other thing for me is that something that really helped me, and I know that so many athletes use this, and that's visualization. And it's about so much of it is about the preparation. You can deliver in the moment when you're prepared, because when you're prepared, your confidence rises and then you can relax. And so for me, when I felt mentally prepared, they're all physically prepared. Every single one of those athletes is physically prepared. They've all done the training. But the mental preparation is absolutely crucial, because when you can see that performance in your mind's eye in vivid detail, your mind doesn't know the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real life experience. And so for me, when I could see myself deliver the perfect race, executing my race plan exactly as I wanted to, that's when I went, yes, I'm ready. I am ready to race. And then I got excited. And I think that's what allows you to sit on the start line, or when the whistle blows or whatever it is, that's what allows you to just deliver and go into that automatic pilot mode, because you've seen it. But you also prepare for the things that might go wrong. You prepare for, there being a false start. You prepare for, we saw that in the 100-meter men's final, there was a false start. So you have to, from a British guy, unfortunately, but you have to be prepared as the other competitors to reset and go, right, now, I've seen this happen in my mind and I'm ready for it. And I know what to think and I know how to prepare and I know what I need to do and how to reset myself. And so the more preparation you can do, the better, because that's what allows you to have covered all the what ifs, all the, the what if scenarios, the pressure situations. How am I going to handle it? And that's what gives you the confidence to make good decisions and take the right move in the moment.
Fantastic. So preparation, be totally prepared, focus on the performance, focus on your race plan and strategy, not the outcome. And that's really good, actually, certainly for when you're in business, because if you do focus too much on the outcome, although you need to know the direction you're going in, you need to know where the finish line is, clearly. Otherwise, you end up like a Monty Python race, don't you, all going in the wrong direction. It's important to be in that moment, so you're doing your very best. I love that visualization and that autopilot, that's sort of like muscle memory, isn't it? That you've done it so many times before. Your brain, and because you've done it in your head, your brain knows, I've done it before. I've won gold before. I can do it again, right?
Yeah, and it totally, all of it applies to the business world, because you think about doing a big pitch, doing a big presentation, a really difficult conversation, all of that. You can see it in your mind's eye. You can visualize, okay, how do I want to present myself? What am I going to say? What's my body language going to look like? Right down to trying to anticipate the other person's responses, or how do I want to see the audience respond at the end of my speech? What do I want to see them doing? And visualizing all of that. But in a difficult conversation, or where you've got to make tough decisions in the moment, the more you can play out the different scenarios and the different situations, the more prepared you are for anything that can happen. And the more you can visualize that, the more you start to feel confident that I've been here before. Because sometimes we haven't been here before, but we get confidence from our past experiences. But if your mind believes that you've been here before because it's seen it, that's when the confidence rises, and that's when you're able to deliver under pressure.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So is that part of what you talk about? You talk about getting the competitive edge and having that winning mindset. Are those the components that you need, or is there more to it than that? And can you develop it?
You can absolutely develop a winning mindset, and yet, so yes, those are some components. So where do I focus my attention? So building on that idea of preparing is a big part of a winning mindset. So I talk about a performance cycle, and that involves 3 different components. So it's preparation, execution, and review. And so to take that preparation to the next level, not just in terms of the mental preparation, but also the physical preparation. As an athlete, we're watching the Olympics and you see just this moment in time when they're on the start line, or they're about to perform, and that's all we see. But there's years and years and months and hours of preparation that's gone to get into that moment, so that it does look effortless, but it's because of all the preparation. And 90% of that performance, that race or that match or whatever it is won in the preparation. And it's exactly the same in the business world. I think about my world now, delivering training or coaching or a speech. you know, I know that you guys talk about scoping. That's the preparation, right? That's our preparation time. If we don't do that, we're not going to deliver what the customer wants. I need to spend time talking to the customer, understanding what their objectives are, understanding what results they want to achieve. What does good look like? And then I can go and do my preparation to make sure that I deliver on the day. And so that's my homework. That's my training that I do now. And it's the same in so many different walks of business. What's the preparation that you can do? Because fail to prepare, and we prepare to fail, right? You know, prepare. That is the most crucial thing. That's when we build relationships with a customer. So you've got the preparation phase, and then you've got the execution phase, which is delivering the performance, the race, or, you know, the pitch, difficult conversation, whatever it might be. And we've talked about how to deliver that in the moment. And then comes the review phase. So prepare, execute, and then review. And win or lose, it's crucial that we do the review phase. And that is where the learning comes in. And the most important thing, which I think people can sometimes neglect, is that not just to focus on the result, but to focus on the performance. Because the result is great, but if we only focus on the result in isolation, that doesn't guarantee future success. What guarantees future success is looking at the performance as a whole and looking at how could this performance be improved. Because it's interesting when you look at, I was watching the 200 meter women's final on the track yesterday, and the Jamaican lady that won, she also won in Rio. And her time was significantly quicker yesterday than it was 4 years ago, because performance levels in sport and in business are constantly rising. And so therefore, we can't just look at the result and go, oh, well, I won last time, and so I'll just replicate everything that I did. You've got to say, actually, what was good about the performance and what could be improved for next time, because we've got to keep thinking about improving performance all the time and moving forwards and trying to go further. So focusing on the performance and analysing it, what went well, what didn't go so well, even when we win, what could be better. And then also in that phase is the feedback. And that's another really important component. Getting feedback from the client, getting feedback from colleagues, getting feedback from everyone is an important part of the review phase. So I really encourage the clients that I work with to see this as an investment of their time, because most people go, oh, I haven't got time to spend time, you know, doing all that preparation. They just want to dive in straight to execution. But actually neglecting preparation and review, you're neglecting two really crucial parts that allow you to deliver optimal performance. And you have to see it as an investment of time that you will recoup back in the long term in terms of enhanced performance. So it's really crucial.
I love the fact you've made it really simple, you know, 3 steps, and they're so absolutely logical. Your preparation, your execution, your review makes absolutely total sense. And it's interesting as well, you're saying you can't replicate, you have to keep improving. Not only do you have to keep improving for yourself, but you actually have to keep improving because your competition is going to keep improving. They're going to be trying to beat what you did and guess what you're going to achieve the next time. And they'll be aiming for that, aiming for what you're going to be. So it's constant. And in business, it's the same. You want to be ahead of the competition. Nobody wants to be number 2, really, do we? You touched on feedback, and I know this is an area that you are so passionate about, because I think it's an area you've said to me in the past you don't think there's enough focus on in business. Explain to me why feedback was so important for you and why it's important in business.
So feedback is just absolutely fundamental part of a winning mindset and helping us to improve performance. It's an important part of a high-performing team. As a leader, you know, so many aspects of business and indeed in sport, you know, as an athlete, in fact, all athletes just crave feedback. It's interesting because athletes just want feedback. We call it the food of champions. But in the business world, when someone says to you, oh, come here, I want to give you some feedback, you're like, oh, that's not going to be a good conversation. You don't think of it as helpful. You don't think of it. You think of it, oh, they're going to give me a bollocking about something. But actually, you know, we saw feedback, and every athlete is like, actually, oh, yes, give me feedback. I want to know what can I do What didn't I do so well? How can I improve? And you see it as a performance enhancing tool. So I think the first thing in business is that we need to help people to change, to reframe what feedback is, and it should be something that's engaging. It should be something that's helpful. Feedback should be seen as something that's kind, because we're helping people to to understand what they didn't do so well and how they could do it differently. And I think that the biggest thing with feedback in business is helping people to learn how to deliver it effectively, because I think that's what stops people from giving feedback. You know, as a leader, when you've seen someone do something, or a behavior, or a performance, and it's not been as good as it could be, then they get afraid that the other person is going to be offended, or be, you know, going to take it the wrong way, or you know, get defensive or whatever. And actually, if they've learned the skills to deliver feedback effectively, then it lands so much better, and you don't get afraid of upsetting someone. You know that you're doing it with positive intent to just help them improve performance. And it would be unkind not to give them that feedback if it's going to help them. So yeah, really crucial.
Absolutely agree with you. I love the fact that you call it the food of champions. And you're absolutely right. I think in business, it's because we don't know how to deliver it, or we're scared, or often we only get feedback when it's bad, rather than actually getting feedback that is, you know, productive and good. We don't always get enough good feedback. I bet
so. Yeah, I agree, Maria. I think I didn't say that, but it's really important to do both. Is to be giving feedback that is both, we call it motivational feedback. So feedback that's, you know, positive in terms of what did I do well and what do I need to keep doing. And then developmental feedback in terms of, you know, what didn't I do so well and what do I need to do differently or to change. And it's really important to get a balance of both, because highlighting for someone what they did really well is crucial for confidence building and motivation. That's why I call motivational, to help them know that actually I did that and that had this impact and I need to keep doing that for that reason. So it's really crucial to do both. The other thing around feedback is in high performing teams, and the best teams, most high performing teams, hold each other accountable. And they use feedback to hold each other accountable. So they've, you know, a few steps further before, they will have all discussed something, had debate about it, committed to it, and then agreed that, you know, for example, you know, we talk about gold medal behaviors, for example, right? So we're all going to behave in this way. You know, this is the way we're going to conduct ourselves as a team, right? We're committing to this. And then you see someone who doesn't do what we've agreed we would do. A high performing team has that safe environment, has the trust within the team to be able to call someone out in an appropriate way. You know, when they know how to deliver feedback well, they can say, actually, do you know what? We agreed that we would do it like this and you're doing something different, or we agreed we would behave like that and you haven't and you've done this. And they're able to give that feedback and deliver it so that it lands. And that's what a high performing team does.
I love that. So the motivational and the developmental, not easy to say without your teeth in, is it? Very good. And I love the gold medal behavior and the fact that, you know, the high performing teams can hold themselves accountable. It's really good. I bet your kids are so well behaved because they get top feedback. You're laughing because they get top feedback. Okay, let's not go there. Let's not digress. Your husband,
if only.
or maybe your husband's well behaved instead. Anyway, so listen, what people may not know or may not have sort of put together is the fact that you were undefeated in your sport for 8 years. That's huge. And in that time, you won 3 consecutive world titles. So what's making me think here, what would be relevant to business here is, okay, you get to the top. How do you stay at the top? Because once you're there, you sort of like, oh, let's have a little relax. Let's have a little holiday. How do you stay in that mindset of what is gold medal behavior, I suppose?
Yeah, it absolutely is mindset, Maria. It's about a mindset of recognizing that when I'm at the top, the danger would be to be a little bit complacent, to think, you know, I'm just going to rest on my laurels, we've made it to the top and I'm just going to sit here and cruise for a little bit. But as we discussed earlier, you can't afford to sit still because, you know, like we said, the performance levels are constantly rising in sport and in business. It's constantly moving forward. And so you have to have this mindset of of continually striving for improvement, for innovation, to keep pushing boundaries and to keep improving. I have a little acronym, CANI, CANI, constant and never ending improvement. And that's what I was always striving for. That's what I work with clients to help them strive for constant and never ending improvement. And I say, can you do it? Can I? Yes, I can. And again, it goes back to that idea that, you know, looking for what are the ways that I can improve my performance? Because yes, I've won once, you know, I won the first world title. Do we just do the same training program all over again? Maybe not. Maybe we keep some of it, but we have to look at it and say, is this still going to add value? Is this still going to help make the boat go faster in the future? Is this going to enhance performance again next year? Or do we need to tweak something? So I'll give you an example. When I won my first world title, I won by making a break towards the end of the race. So we do this thing called a portage, where you get out of the boat and you pick it up and you have to run and you get back in again. And I was a pretty fast runner, and I made a break on the portage, and I got a break, and I had a gap, and I managed to sustain that lead. But in the previous World Championships, I had finished second, and I lost on the sprint finish. And so even though I'd won, we knew that if it came down to a sprint finish, would I win again? And so there was still room for improvement. And so whilst I had lots of endurance, I lost 2 times at the World Championships by like this much, by 0.2 seconds. So 0.2 of a second I lost by after 2.5 hours of racing. Oh. And so, you know, yes, I was world champion, but is my performance going to be good enough again to win next time? And so actually, maybe I need to change. We had to tweak the training a little bit and focus a bit more on my speed and less on the endurance, so that if it came down to a sprint finish, I would be able to win on a sprint finish. And I did win. I did win 2 of my world titles on a sprint finish in the end, but because I had changed his training and didn't rest on my laurels thinking, yeah, I've done it, I've won, I'll be able to win again. So it's that mindset of what else, and looking for, you know, the small attention to detail. What are even when you're at the highest level, you know, you see it. I love watching the track cycling, which is on at the moment at the Olympics, and they are winning by just absolutely tiny margins. And that's all about looking for those little 1% improvements all the time, constant. What are the 1%? Because it's not one massive thing, because everyone, you know, they've done so much already to make big strides. So now it's, what are the 1% that we can make? And when you think about, and some people think, oh, 1% is not going to make that much difference. But if you look at lots of different components of the nutrition and the recovery and technology and the mental strength and all of that added together, and each person in a team doing that, the compound effect will inevitably have extraordinary results. And so if you think of a business team and you've got, you know, 12 of you in a team, and every person is making small improvements, 2 or 3 different areas, and all of you together do that over the space of a year, that's huge. And that's what makes the difference. And that's how you get those winning margins, which in sport and business, it can come down to that sometimes.
Absolutely. I do love that. Constant and never ending improvement. That is such a great title and a great thing to hang on to, a great sort of mantra. Actually, I like that, really like that. So talk to me a little bit about resilience. Over the last year, it's sort of, you know, everybody's talking about resilience. I think people will be talking about it going on, because I think we've got, you know, some fallout to come yet from this horrific pandemic. How important is resilience in both sport and business? And, you know, how can you become more resilient?
Yeah, so resilience, everyone's talking about resilience. And It is crucial. It's not just a buzzword. It is something that you can learn and develop. It's not, you know, a lot of people say, you know, is this just an innate skill that you have and you're born with it? And the research actually shows that you do have a level. Everyone has a level of resilience, and some of that will be higher or lower. But by and large, it is developed over time. And we all have a level of resilience based on our life experiences. So, you know, the more adversity we've experienced, and the setbacks and the failures and the rejections, assuming that we've learned from all of that, we will be more resilient because of it. And for me, resilience is super important because it's what allows you to be able to think clearly in the heat of the moment. It's what allows you to be able to think rationally and strategically. It's what allows you to sustain high performance in the face of constant demands and pressures. And the people who have the highest levels of resilience, they can perform better in the face of either lots of pressures or continued pressures. Those with less resilience, they'll be reaching their peak, and they'll be getting more overwhelmed by those pressures quicker. So it's really, really crucial. It's what allows us to bounce back from setback. It's what allows us to, you know, to have, when we're really resilient, we have confidence that we can find our way through challenging situations, through setback, through adversity, through uncertainty. So in terms of developing it, well, there are, you know, I could list 6 or 7 key strategies for developing resilience. But if I break it down into 4 key elements, the first one would be having clarity of direction. So knowing where I'm going and why I'm going there, and then how I'm going to get there is really crucial. And knowing that I have, and being determined to succeed, because that clarity of direction is so important when, for example, we come up against the setback, when we're feeling this is one that's coming up a lot with clients when I'm coaching them, is just feeling overwhelmed, that I've just got so much to do, competing demands, ever-changing priorities. I don't even know where to begin. I'm so overwhelmed with I just don't know where to start. And so bringing it back to the clarity of direction, what am I trying to achieve, and, you know, how am I going to get there, and what's important right now? That's what allows you to just filter out some of that distraction and stay focused on the key priorities and what's important. So that's the first one. And we have to stay true to that all the time. Even making decisions. Making this decision, is it going to help me achieve that goal? Is it going to help me with my clarity of direction? You know, what I've identified as my vision. And then the second one for me is around awareness of self and others. So having an awareness of our own attitudes, motivations, strengths, weaknesses is really crucial. And as a leader, I say others because it's really important to have that understanding of others as well. And also what takes me from pressure to stress, and how to rebalance. Really, really crucial. Because part of being resilient is being able to deal with the stresses, the inevitable stresses that come our way. So knowing what my triggers are, what's going to take me over the edge, and how do I recalibrate, get back into equilibrium. So that's really crucial. Having an understanding of what my strengths are is really fundamental, because that's what builds our confidence, is knowing that when I'm faced with this tough situation, I know what I've got in my locker, and I know that I've got the resources to deliver under this pressure. I know what motivates me is really crucial. So, you know, when times are difficult, I know what to tap into. I know what my intrinsic motivational drivers are. And so then I can raise my motivation when it gets tough. So that's awareness of self. And as if you're a leader, then all of those things applying to awareness of others. The third one is around what I call leadership presence. And a big part of this for me is about being authentic as a leader. You know, being able to ask for help, ask for support, you know, when we're struggling, when times are difficult, when we're under pressure, just being able, a big part of our resilience is being able to be vulnerable and ask for support. And then the fourth one is around resilient decision making. So being able to make the right decision at the right time with the right people in the right place. So you can make good decisions when it really counts. those would be my keys.
Excellent, excellent. I've written those down. It's like I'm having a masterclass here. So, clarity of direction, awareness of self and others, leadership presence, and resilient decision making. Yes, I think
Yeah.
I got that right. I got that right. Yes, good, good.
Yes.
Wow. Seriously, there's so much amazing content here from you. And the other thing I want to pick your brains on while I have you is that, of course, a lot of people are going through the changes from remote working now coming together again. Some are still choosing to stay remote. Some perhaps, certainly in the UK, will be coming off furlough and will either be going back into the work environment or actually not having work. So staff motivation is going to have a huge toll taken on it. So the other side of resilience, I suppose, is being motivated. And you individually are obviously very self-motivated, but because of what you've achieved. But how can you boost motivation of others? How can you help them be more motivated?
Yeah, so you say, most athletes, and I was very self-motivated, but that's not to say that, every single morning I woke up going, yes, can't wait to get out to the cold, freezing cold river. Like most people don't always every day wake up going, can't wait to get to work today. And so, sometimes even the lure of that World Championship gold medal wasn't enough. And so sometimes, and the thing is, the reason why is because the medal, the awards that you get, and the same in business, the salary, the bonus, the promotion, those things, they're what we call external factors, and they're temporary motivators. Because if you're doing the same thing every day, day in, day out, then you need more than that. You need more than that external factor. The motivation needs to come from within. And when it comes from within, that's when you get a longer, more sustained motivation. And so it's about identifying what is the intrinsic motivation. And a lot of the work that I do with clients around motivation is based on the work of Dean Spitzer. And he identified 8 human desires. And so those were, I'll list a few of them. So desire for achievement. So to feel like I'm succeeding at something. So at work, I need to have a sense of achievement, to be able to hit targets and feel like I've succeeded. It might be affiliation. So a lot of people are, all of us, we're all social creatures, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, we need people. And so being able to interact and have that social interaction might be a big driver. Some people, for me, I know some days I turn up for training because of the banter that I'm going to have with my teammates and because we're going to have a laugh and I just want to go and, have that fun with them. On other days, it was about the sense of achievement that I was going to get from the training session to hit my targets, because it was going to be competitive maybe, and I was going to feel a sense of achievement at the end of the session. It might be about ownership. So this is about feeling psychological ownership over your work. So at work, it might be feeling like, I really own this project, or, this project that I'm working on, I'm going to take it from start to finish. Or it might be about the development of someone else. I'm going to own this development of this up and coming leader. So feeling like I have ownership over what I'm doing is really important. I'll just rattle off the others. So there's the desire for meaning, so having a purpose, feeling like you're making a contribution, desire for activity, so not doing monotonous work, desire for power. And that's really not so much about positions of power, but could be about feeling like I'm in control of my destiny rather than being powerless to external forces. I don't know if I've mentioned all 8, but
no, there's one missing. So we've got achievement, affiliation, ownership,
recognition.
Our recognition.
So being, we all like to feel appreciated by others and positively recognized. So, and so what's interesting is that, I do this a lot in my speeches, is I do a little poll and I get people to identify which are their top 2, and everyone is different. And that's the most important thing as a leader, to recognize that what motivates you won't be the same as what motivates your team. And this is like a light bulb moment for my clients when I work with them on this. And they go, so there was one client I was working with, and he said he was driven by achievement and recognition, and so he's constantly recognizing his team and good praise and giving them creating awards and all of that kind of stuff. And then he realized that there was a big percentage of his team who are driven by affiliations. They're all about the people and the teammates and getting together. And so this whole, constantly recognizing people was nice, but that wasn't working for them. And when motivational desires are not aligned and they're not addressed, then you don't get the best out of people. So it's really important for people to realize that actually we're all different and we all have different motivational drivers. So if you're a leader and you want to tap and you want to motivate each individual in the team, then you need to identify what exactly is it that's their deepest motivation. So it's about getting to know others. I talked about resilience being about one of those elements was awareness of others. So it's about getting to know your team, get to know yourself, be more observant about yourself, but also get to know your team on a different level. You hear it in sport, team sports, you play for each other, play for the team. But how can you do that if you don't know each other? So awareness of others is really crucial, particularly what motivates others. And I use a diagnostic to help people really accurately identify what are their motivations and what are other people's.
Brilliant. I've learned so much. Thank you, Anna. I've written so many notes.
You're welcome.
I hope everybody... I've taken quite a bit of your time. So I want to finish on, I think, something that's really important, because you're unusual. And I think people will know that from all the answers you've given and the breadth of knowledge and the depth of knowledge that you have, because usually you expect an Olympian, a sports person, to come in and give a speech and tell their story and the lessons they've learned from it. Yes, you do that, but you can do so much more. You've talked about coaching, you've talked about training. I know you do workshops, you do masterclasses. You could do so much more with organizations. Tell me a little bit about how much further you can work with companies if they really want to work on that. What was it? Continuous and never ending improvement.
Yeah, no, you're right, Maria. I do. So I think of myself as wearing three different hats. One is as an inspirational speaker, and then I'm a leadership and high performance coach. So I work one-to-one with individuals, and I love that because I get to work closely with somebody, and usually over a longer period of time. So whilst when I deliver a speech, hopefully people take away some really actionable strategies that they can put into place, and they can go away and do that. I don't often get to see that 6 months later unless I get to come in and work with the people afterwards, which often happens. But if it's a big audience, I'm not going to get to work with everyone. So it's really nice to work one-to-one with people and actually see people applying those strategies and those techniques and seeing the impact. So I do the coaching, and then I'm also a training consultant. I actually set up Beyond the Barriers training consultancy 11 years ago now, when I retired from sport. So that's very much about smaller group workshops, so master classes, doing leadership programs over 6 months, over 12 months, high performing teams programs, or high performing hybrid teams now. And obviously resilience is a big program that I run as well. So, and I enjoy the dynamic actually of having 10 or 12 people in a masterclass, and that's very different to the 500 person people in a speech and the one-to-one. So there's real variety, and I love that. And when we're in a group workshop, people are bouncing ideas off each other, and that's a different vibe. So so there's a real mixture to my work, and each one of them ultimately has the same aim, and it's to help people to develop the skills, the attitudes, and the behavior, the mindset to deliver outstanding performance, and to take those lessons from sport into the business world and help others apply that and achieve their best.
Anna, thank you for your outstanding performance today and for joining us. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
I did. Thank you very much. I love the conversation. Thanks, Maria.
Fabulous. So thank you everybody for listening to The Speaker Show. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating on Apple Podcasts. You can keep up with future episodes on Speakers Associates website, which is speakersassociates.com, or your favorite podcast app. And if you'd like to book Anna to speak or to coach or to run a masterclass or workshop, please contact Speakers Associates. They will be delighted to help make it happen. See you next week. Bye-bye for now.